Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. So, I love this topic for today. We're going to talk about confidence, but we're going to talk about it in a different kind of a way. So, when you hear confidence, right, that is generally something that we need in order to achieve the thing that we want. Courage and confidence are the two things, and they kind of go hand in hand. It's almost like the chicken and the egg kind of a scenario, right? Like which came first? Well, you need both of them, really. It's not a matter of which came first, which one's better. It's just both are warranted, right? Regardless of what you're doing. Especially those of you who are high achievers, high performers in here, you know that it takes courage and confidence to get to that next level. So we're going to talk about self-efficacy specifically. Now, before you tune me out and you're like, okay, nerd alert, right? Like, I get it. Super nerdy. I love having these conversations though. Self-efficacy is beautiful. It's a beautiful component in developing the confidence to do something. So let's dive into what that means first, right? Now, I pulled up a definition in true fashion, so I'm just going to give that to you real quick. So here we go. All right, so this is a concept from psychologist Albert Bandura, okay? And self-efficacy is your belief in your own abilities to successfully do a specific task or handle a particular situation. Okay, so this is your belief in yourself, your confidence that you can do something. Now, why does this matter? Well, because as high performers, it's oftentimes we're doing something that we haven't done before. And that can feel scary, and that requires some sort of courage and some sort of confidence. And maybe you're thinking, okay, Steph, I get the courage part if it's something we haven't done before, but where does the confidence come in if this is something you haven't done before? How do we have the confidence to do something if we've never, ever, ever done it before? This is where self-efficacy shows up. So just because we haven't done that particular thing doesn't mean we can't have confidence in doing it, because chances are we've done something similar. So let me set the stage for this. During my Ph.D. program, the very last thing that you have to do, one, is defend your dissertation. But you have to write the dissertation. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Ph.D. process, there is coursework, then the dissertation process. Oftentimes there are exams after the coursework to ensure that you know what the heck you're talking about so that they actually give you the green light to do the research. So I did my coursework, passed my exams. Full disclosure, failed one of them the first time, passed it the second time. Nevertheless, passed my exams. And I got the green light to do my dissertation process. And I remember thinking to myself, holy pickles, right? Like, how am I going to write a dissertation? I've never written a dissertation before. I have no idea what I'm doing here. How on earth am I actually going to get this dissertation done? And I freaked myself out. I spiraled. I was like, well, maybe I'll just be an ABD, right? All but dissertation after the end of my name. And there were probably a couple of days where I sat in this energy and was like, how do I even get started? It was so big that there was no, like, just get started kind of energy. It was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. How on earth am I going to get started? And then I remembered having a conversation with my dissertation chair, who was also studying self-efficacy and had written lots of papers on it, knew all the things, right? And I remember him saying, the dissertation is a bigger paper. You've written papers before without a problem, so there's no reason that you can't do this. And I remember sitting with that thought and going, well, shoot, I've written thousands of papers in my college career, between being an English and political science major in undergrad and then a government major in my first master's and then a master's in education and then rolling into my PhD program. I had written thousands of papers in my college career, thousands of papers. Many of them 15, 20-page papers that I wrote in a couple of hours because I worked really well under pressure, right? At least that's the story I told myself. And so it did. It worked really well for me. So I had written thousands of papers. I had done research for thousands of different topics. And now it was legitimately the first time in my college career I actually got to write about something that I loved. And so the research started to come easy because it was stuff that I was already interested in. And I was like, oh, cool, let me read this article. Oh, that article talks about this article. Let me read this article. And oh, let me read this article. And oh, let me read this article. And all of a sudden, this big behemoth of an assignment, the dissertation, became doable because I knew how to read articles, I knew how to do research, and I knew how to write. And all of those things actually made up the dissertation in itself. And so I was like, cool, I got this. It just might take a little bit longer because it's the biggest paper I've ever written. But I can do it because I've done it before. And I remember having this conversation, very similar conversation with one of my clients a couple years ago. She was wanting to start her own virtual assistant company. And I remember having this private call with her, and she said, well, we were talking about what she was currently doing, and I said, okay. I said, but what do you really want to do? And she said, well, I'd really love to be a virtual assistant. She said, but I've never done it before. I said, okay. I said, what kind of tasks do virtual assistants do? And so she started to list them off, and I said, and how do you know that? And she said, oh, well, I was an office assistant for, 13 years or something. And I said, oh. I looked at her and I said, same thing. She said, what? And I said, you just told me that you were an office assistant for 10 plus years and you did all of these tasks regularly, but for some reason you don't think you can do them on your own? And she sat with it for a minute and then she said, oh, I already have 10 years experience of doing this. Yes. Yes, you do. You have a decade of experience doing this already, that there is no reason that you cannot do this on your own. And her whole body language changed. She sat up more. I could see the confidence start to course through her and all these ideas were coming to her. And she was like, oh my, she said, I love this. I love this. This is amazing. She loved it. Amazing. And it didn't take her long. I think she got her first virtual assistant client within a week of that call, because all she had was a different perspective. She saw it differently, saying, okay, these are all things that I have done before. It's just a different container. And that is a lot of life, because I 100% believe that God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so all of these little side quests that we've done actually build up to this big thing that we're able to do. And so, yes, while the side quest may not be the exact thing that you're leading up to, I guarantee you that side quest is playing a huge role in the bigger vision that you have. And I remember another example. I remember having this conversation with my husband when I first started my coaching business. And he said, I was celebrating a new private client that came in, and I was dancing and singing through the living room. And he was like, what are you so excited about? And I said, I just signed another client. I'm so excited to work with them. And he said, how much are they paying you? And I told him, and I think at the time it was $500 a month. And I said, well, they're paying me $500 a month. And he said, but you've never done this before. And I said, that's where you're wrong. I said, I've been teaching at the collegiate level for 10 years now. I've done something similar before. Have I been teaching on this topic per se? No. But I've done something very similar before where I have taught and I've given a different perspective and I've given my students the courage and the confidence to go after something, even if it was from an English class. And he said, oh, well, that makes more sense now, right? So the thing that you're doing, chances are, uses all of the skills from all your other side quests prior to, and now you just get to build on it. It's just a little bit bigger. So it's not a matter of figuring out how to do it. It's remembering what you're really great at. And this is what I absolutely love to do in my breakthrough sessions. It is a 90-minute call, one-on-one. It is $777, and we spend the 90 minutes breaking through. We shift things, we have clarity, we change perspectives. It is about changing the way you look at something so that you can actually get to where you want to go. Because oftentimes, specifically for high performers, we don't need a whole new strategy overhaul. We already have things that we know work really well. There's just a couple of things that we need to tweak along the way to make them work even better. And that's what these breakthrough sessions are for, because you probably don't need a whole course where I teach you strategy or I teach you how to tune into your intuition. Maybe you do need a little bit more of that, right? And that's where some of my longer containers come in. But if you are like, I feel like there's just something missing and I'd like some clarity on it, or I can't seem to let go of this thing and I know just a little bit of a shift. I just need to move something. That's what these breakthrough calls are for. They are $777. They are a 90-minute session and you can book them. I do have some available this week. So you can actually send me a DM on Instagram or shoot me an email. You can find that on my website at stephaniesnyderphd.com. So you can send me an email or you can find me on Instagram and let me know that you're interested in one of these, and we'll find a time that works best for both of us and we'll break through. We will shift things and you probably won't be thinking the same by the end of it. So I'm sending you a whole lot of love. I'm going to sign off here, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. And remember, be you, because the world needs more of you. Bye.